From the see-through glass corporate headquarters, Hot Topic with BP, Jake. And with him as always, Uli. And the man behind the monitor, Gary Bear.
Alright, so this one we're going on about lithium mining here in America. We'll call this one Rotten Moon.
Yeah. Speaking of lithium, you know where they have like the largest lithium deposits in
I
the
know
world?
one of them's in Reno.
Well, no, there's even a bigger one. It's in, I believe it's Peru,
Okay.
South America, but it's been, is it nationalized where the government takes over?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. And that kind of lends into my story because I personally feel that a lot of things that are extracted from the soil should be naturalized. So in America, I feel like oil companies or mines, specifically things like that, should be nationalized. And that money, instead of going to overseas companies, should go basically back into America. Imagine if they had a lithium mine and it was owned by the government, and all the lithium that they mined and sold would go to instead of you having to pay taxes, they would take that money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It would go to fund the government, basically.
Kind of like what that Nordic country did, Norway, with the oil.
Yeah, exactly. Alaska does something very similar.
They do a mix, though. I like Norway's because they do a mix of, it's run technically as a private organization, and then the government owns essentially like half of it.
Like the majority shares.
But then they
put it into the market, and it's gaining all that interest.
Oh, I'm sure, because it's backed by the government.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because they use it to fund
social programs.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. All right. So one of the largest reserves in America is in Nevada, a place called Thatcher Pass. Pihi Mohang, that's I guess how you pronounce it in the local tongue. Okay. Means rotten moon.
Rotten moon.
Yep. So the whole process right now is tied up in courts, sued by two tribes: the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and People of the Red. Apparently, BLM approved the mine in late December, basically the last week or two of the Trump presidency.
And just to be clear, Bureau of Land Management.
BLM, in this instant, we're referring to Black Lives Matter. The Bureau of Land Management, yes. Most of the time when we speak of it, we'll try to make a distinction, but in this case specifically, it is the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
Is it on the reservation or not?
It is on what these native people consider sacred land. Because a battle was fought there, and they, because of the way they feel about the valley itself, they never recovered the dead. So it's basically like a gravesite.
I thought they called it Rotten Moon.
That's why. Because of the way people died in this past, they never went back. It was that kind of thing. And that's why they call it the Rotten Moon.
We're here to clean it up.
They're claiming that it violates the National Historic Preservation Act, which means the tribes are consulted on economic impact and things that it might have on them or their land, basically.
Yeah.
And they weren't consulted about efforts to mitigate that damage, and that's basically what the lawsuit is about. BLM claims it has consulted with the 3 recognized tribes, and company says the 2 tribes aren't recognized. Now, one of the reasons I brought this up is that this is a twofold part, because the company has already spent $10 million just on permitting for the process to mine in this area. And not only was it hastily pushed through and done kind of on shady means, because it wasn't done through the normal channels, it was rushed through, waiting hours of the Trump presidency, somebody trying to capitalize on this. Now here's where it gets even funnier. Besides the $10 million, which we'll come back to, but that's one of the points I want to talk about, is the owner slash consultant, Alexei Zawodowski, Canadian based.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, right? So this company, which is called Lithium Nevada Corp, is a Canadian-Chinese hybrid project owned by a company called Minera XR, which is a joint venture between Ganfeng Lithium and Minera XR. That's what this Lithium Nevada Corp is a joint venture between this Chinese company and this Canadian company to extract lithium from America. For profit for them.
Right.
And because they paid somebody off, they got the rights to it,
right.
and all this profit's going to go overseas. Now, they didn't have a lot of projected outcomes for this mine specifically, but this joint venture owns 2 other lithium mines. One of them is called Juje Lithium Brine Project, and another one, I think, there's 3 altogether. But the reason I brought this up is this Juje is expected to produce about the same amount as this Thatcher mine, right?
Yeah.
And so here's what they have projected. This is for the Juje mine. It was a $641 million investment. They say it's going to cost per ton $3,579 to extract 1 ton of lithium.
Right.
They're going to sell it for $12,000 a ton.
4 times.
And then even on top of that, the mine is set to put out, it's called 40,000 TPA, which is ton per annum. It's a weird industry term, but what I get is it's basically 40,000 tons per year for 40 years. So to do some quick math on that, you take how much they're projected to make off of each ton, minus the cost to get it, which is 8,421, that's what you're left with. Times that by 40,000, which is $337 million a year, is what this mine's projected.
Times 40 years.
Times 40 years.
Yeah.
Is what it's projected to make.
Oh yeah.
And so that's kind of where I want this to go. This is why I brought it up. For one, this is hurting the market share, because just to start a mine, just to open a mine on your own land, you have to have $10 million worth of permits you have to fill out. That is a law put there by mining companies to stifle competition.
Coal mining
People,
companies.
even if you own your own land, you don't typically own the mineral rights.
You don't own the mineral rights to it, on top of other things. But you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you let the market write its own laws.
You know what's funny though? I'm sure those laws were written by coal mines.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't transition from coal mining to lithium mining. It's kind of...
Yeah, they're kind of getting bitten in the ass now because
because they were already in it. You know, they have the practice, the know-how, how to mine. They probably have the tools and equipment.
the tools and equipment, which
Right.
is big. A lot
You
of
would have thought they would have transitioned over into. It's ironic that now these American companies that are going to belly up, coal mining companies.
now because
Now
you're
you
right.
have
now you-
outside companies coming in and doing the things that we should have been doing. With
Yeah,
our land.
you nailed it right on the head. You're not going to have a local startup do this. This isn't going to be a
costs so much
handful
money,
of
just
American
$10
guys
million
getting
or-
together. $10 million just to file the permits.
Yeah.
And you know good and well, you don't get that money back. If you spend your $10 million and you don't win the bid or you don't get the contract, you're out that $10 million.
Plus everything else that goes along with
Plus
it.
the lawyer to write it up, the
Well-
accountant to crunch the numbers.
Well, not just that, but I mean all the equipment, the hiring, the training, all the overhead.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, well, with EPA laws, it's basically impossible to start a mine.
well, I mean, it sounds like
Well, it's
this Canadian
impossible.
company
No. It's impossible for somebody that doesn't have $640 million to invest in a fucking mine.
Well, that's
and
what
the
I'm saying,
right people to shake
Right.
hands with.
Yeah, that's part of it. Is you have to comply with all the EPA laws and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
like you can't just
Well, then that's
mine your own land and then
Well, an EPA, like it's complying with those laws is not a bad thing. That it ensures that
Oh, I
we're doing
agree.
things safe for the
Yeah,
community and
I
the
was just saying,
families
like,
that live around it.
Because of those, though, like it
Right.
is like you couldn't just like do your
But
own
it's-
mine.
To a point, let's grant you that. But we have a very reactive government. Governments don't proactively write EPA laws. They write an EPA law because some mine poisoned a town, because some mine caught a river on fire,
Mhm.
because some mine dumped a bunch of shit illegally. They have
now,
to write these laws.
kids are developing tumors and cancer.
A number of things that have happened throughout the
Respiratory
last 100
problems.
years. Yeah.
That's happening right now in Texas.
So you don't say, oh, burdensome regulations. These burdensome regulations were put there
Yep.
because...
I'm not arguing against.
No,
it,
no,
though.
we're not saying you.
Yeah,
We're saying
just-
the people
yeah,
out there.
that's a
you know,
very
that would
popular
complain
argument.
about.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I was going to ask you. With these outside companies coming
This
in, how are their
Canada-China company.
Canada-China company? How are their environmental practices where they mined elsewhere? I mean,
Well, what I
How
hate
they-
about the Chinese companies is,
Because you know
like,
they're not
I
doing
can't
well.
invest in a Chinese company.
You
They
can
don't
invest
let-
in some Chinese companies.
Well, like, but they're very,
Yeah.
they're very controlled.
Well,
like,
that's
you
the
can't
thing.
own a business in China. Like,
Well,
an American
even-
company.
There's a law in America to trade on a company on an American, like the stock market. You have to have a certain amount of transparency in your company. You have to release certain information. And Chinese companies, while I'm sure take that information, they don't release it. And so that's why a lot of Chinese companies can't trade in America. You can't own part of a Chinese company.
Well,
They're not
like-
on the stock market because they don't release the information that's required.
Yeah, like, I don't think we should let Chinese companies in the United States.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
But
China owns
I think we
mines,
should
farms,
hold them to
all
the
kinds
same
of stuff they're
standards
pulling
that
out of our
They
soil.
hold, like, the rest of the world to, and that's that, you know, like, if, like, Blizzard, for example, when they went into China, they had to give up 10% of their company to the Chinese government as a condition of them, like, even being able to go into the Chinese market. So I just, if China is not going to play by the rules like most of the world community does, I don't think we should let, China buy a mine in the United States. Like,
I don't think foreign companies should be allowed
Well,
to buy
I mean,
mines or oil.
I don't know enough
or
about like
farms
definitely
or any
not
of that stuff.
antagonistic foreign, governments for sure. I mean, like with the whole
We could rent
scandal of
them,
Russia
you know?
doing the uranium mining in Canada.
my only like pushback on this is that I've seen what, including U.S. Based companies, what
Yeah.
they do, and when they go into other countries to extract natural resources, especially oil. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And how much they pollute the land.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And you think it would be
Well,
any
you
different
can't
here if
get
the laws
away.
weren't in place? You can't. It's not the EPA laws that are stopping people from opening a mine. It's the $10 million in fucking fees you
Well,
have to do
I'm
just
talking
on
about,
the
like,
fluff.
What I was getting at is again how are they going to control the waste that comes from producing lithium? Because it does produce waste.
Oh, I'm sure
tons.
any mine
Right.
does.
Yeah, I mean that's
No,
like
but-
strip mining.
But then again, I mean, I know lithium is not as toxic, but there are some toxic levels. But I watched a very short video, and I think you've seen it with me on YouTube. They were talking about how they can take the waste and then render it and make another chemical out of it
Yeah.
that they could use. So they because there's and it requires a lot of water to mine lithium.
Oh, I'm sure.
'Cause what they do is
they
they-
grind it up slurry like with gold or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It does become a slurry. The lithium rises to the top, and then they scrape
Skim
that
the
off,
top
right,
off,
skim
yeah.
the top, and then what's left is the water that they use. But they were talking about reusing that water and then turning it back to like
Yeah, because that's
potable?
toxic stuff.
Potable.
Yeah.
potable water again.
Yeah, drinkable water.
Right.
Water.
Or even for irrigation is what they were talking about.
Well, irrigation's there's a lot lower standard for it.
Right.
But there's also problems with that because a lot of irrigation is for produce, and produce doesn't get treated. Like if you use tainted water to grow tomatoes, and they put it in a salad,
Mhm.
that's where you get E. coli outbreaks and things
I
like
think
that.
that's more shit in your salad. E. coli.
Well, that's
Well,
what I'm
just
saying.
like-
That's not
like
clean
how-
water.
how
They're not
would
using
they
clean
clean
water
it?
to irrigate their crops.
Well, they wouldn't just reuse it.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have to.
No,
treat it.
there's
Yeah.
right. There's a treatment for it, but there's like when they do natural gas or fracking,
Mhm.
they use a lot of water for that, and they can't recycle that water like they can with lithium water. That's the difference, and they have to
Oh,
dump
and-
those. So they just dump it. I don't know.
To your question, I think they'll have to follow all of our EPA guidelines. So if you're going to run a mine in America,
Yeah.
even if you're owned by an outside country, you're still going to have to follow American guidelines.
And that was my point. You know, like if you wanted to just have like a small mine on your own land, why you couldn't? Like, there's no way that they could follow the EPA guidelines and like make it, which is, you know.
Well, it depends on
Oh.
if you're digging up something on your own land, you're probably not using all the chemical baths and because a big part of mining things, even lithium,
Well, that's the thing. Like
is
mining, yeah, it's hard to mine just a little bit of something. Like,
well, it's not cost effective to mine a little bit of something.
yeah,
Because if it costs $600 million to start up all this giant mining,
like panning gold. I mean, gold's really the only one that you can without mine
opals,
without.
Even with all of our EPA laws,
oh, it's still going to be bad.
right?
Yeah.
I
there's no
mean,
argument
I
with
just saw recently a documentary on Netflix. There's a chemical-based plant in Texas, like right in the peninsula, right next to the ocean, and it's polluting the air so
Okay.
bad that there's a town right next to it, and it's affecting all the kids. They're starting to develop respiratory problems. The guy who was in charge of making sure that certain, because you're allowed so many pollutants in the air, right? Per square or cubic
yeah,
measurement,
parts per million.
parts per million, right? Well, he caught the company, I
Taking
guess,
the numbers,
fabricating
fudging
the
the
numbers, right, fudging the numbers and stuff like that. And he became a whistleblower for it. He got fired,
Yeah. Which is against the law.
right? And then, but nothing happened to the company, and it's still operating to this day. The company's from Singapore, from what I remember.
Yeah, and
And the thing that brings me up is like we do have these laws, but they're not enforced.
well, that's
And I don't want
okay. No,
sports
you
to
have.
continue.
Yeah, you bring up another very good point in this very same vein. So here's the problem with that. So you have conservative legislatures that are always crying, save money, small government, right? But they don't mean like, oh, let's shrink the army, let's do less on foreign aid. They mean let's cut regulatory agencies.
Right.
Let's have the EPA.
That's the smaller government.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the smaller government they want. Less oversight, less regulation. The parts of the government what the government is supposed to do, which is make sure the air is clean, the food is safe, the water. Excuse me, let me grab my phone. Okay. That kind of thing. They're supposed to educate, build roads, build hospitals, keep people clean and safe, protect the borders. That's what government does.
Right.
It's when you have this, when it becomes cheaper for a company to just dump the toxic waste because the fines max out at $2 million. So to a normal person, $2 million seems like a lot.
Yeah.
To a large company dumping
It's
toxic
what
waste,
they make in 2 minutes.
they spend twice that actually doing it. So they save money because they're
Right.
dumping it illegally,
Getting
because
the
it
fees.
costs more
Right.
to do it.
And that's why a lot of people are against like big manufacturing and mining here because there will inevitably be, even with all the regulations, there will still be.
You got it.
environmental
Well,
It could be done a lot better.
Well, the thing is, it's enforcing.
Enforcement.
That's-
That's exactly it. Those are those regulatory committees that are always getting cut. The enforcement part, the guy to go out and actually inspect, and then give them the authority to actually do stuff about it. But a lot of that gets cut in the face of small government saving money. But really, it's just to make it easier for out of country companies to pollute in America. That's what it comes down to. They buy influence in the government, and that's what it bought them. The ability to own all this, and I didn't look it up, but how many mines in America do you think are owned by foreign companies? How many oil wells in America are owned by foreign companies? How many farms in America are owned by foreign companies?
Yeah, well, a
More
lot of the
than you
oil
would.
ones are U.S. companies, not all of them, I'm sure.
Well, BP, that big oil spill, is British
Yeah.
Petroleum. You know, what about that one that just happened in California? Was that an American company?
It was, yeah.
But I mean, the BP one wasn't.
Yeah.
There's oil spills and shit that happen all the time.
Mhm.
That pipeway they wanted to build from Canada to Texas
Uh-huh.
or whatever, that wasn't American oil.
No.
That was fucking
Canadian.
a Canadian company to a Chinese fucking dock. Don't get me started on that. And you're gonna build a giant pipeway right through the middle of America? I mean, just the economic and ecological impact of doing something like that. If one waterway gets messed up, you're already cost more than you would ever make from that. If you block one river, you're going to lose so much from just that. And that's kind of why I brought it up, because I don't think foreign companies should be able to own land. Or maybe not own land, but extract things from the land.
Well, I'm not thrilled about.
Well, they bring their practices of what they've done in their land, where they're very lax EPA laws.
Mhm.
So they bring that mentality over to America. And that's how I felt with that documentary.
Yeah, see, that's a very fair point. So that's just one of many problems that arise with this. A lot of it is with China. We're just going to be buying all this crap back from them in one form or another. So it's we don't make anything when they extract it, and then we buy it from them. It's like we could just extract it ourselves and buy it from us.
Well, that's where we come back to that problem is us extracting it. Who's going to do it? Because it costs so much money.
Well, that's why
so
I'm saying
much
this
red
is the
tape.
kind of thing that a
Well, that's why
government should do.
America
Because
can go to
the-
foreign countries. And
The
do our
EPA
manufacturing.
could be pulling this fucking lithium out of the ground, and they could have their own
'Cause,
standards that they
you know,
have.
one of the biggest reason they're using lithium is for the electric cars.
For batteries, yeah,
Yeah.
electric cars or those new like Tesla wall batteries for houses and stuff.
Right.
Because now houses
Solar panels,
controlling
yeah.
grew off grid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think
Oh, and smartphones.
you think you would have some sort of in the green. Yeah, they call it the Green New Deal, but it's the $3.4 trillion.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I know what you're talking about.
Right. You think it would be in there to, you know, instead of having foreign markets come in and mine our own land, since we're going to be spending this much infrastructure,
Yeah.
infrastructure bill.
We use
To-
$600 million, half a bill,
Uh-huh.
fucking start a mining company, pay people really well to do it,
So it's an American
do it
company
clean,
with
efficiently,
American
effectively,
workers, right.
with American workers in American borders,
And it
and then
stays
we can
within.
sell it for 4 times as much money overseas
Mhm.
and bank all that cash instead of doing the exact opposite.
Right.
Is for this company pays $10 million one time, and then they get to pull $300+ million worth of lithium every year out of the earth, and then sell it back to us.
It
These
would
are going to be
be,
those cheap
uh,
Chinese fucking batteries.
it would be a
Everybody's going to be
grant.
bitching about in 2 years.
A grant put in through where they're not going to give you all of the upfront cost money, but it's a lending hand to help you start the mining program.
Shovel-ready jobs.
Right.
You know, and you could taper it with equipment as the economy needs it. So say you're in a recession, you need 10,000 jobs, you turn off all the bulldozers and you have guys out there doing it by hand. So you're going to need to have 5 times as many guys to do it. But you're still going to make a ton of cash.
Yeah, but we're not going back. We're not going backwards when it comes to the mining company. They're not going to have 500 people with shovels. You know, they'll still use machinery. The lithium game, it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
Oh, I was thinking we should buy a ton of lithium now and
Like
just sit on
stocks.
it. Yeah. Yeah, but what's lithium going to be worth in 10 or 20 years? You know?
Well, I mean, it's going to peak, and it's going to drop just as fast, you know, if not quicker than it going up, because they're already finding new ways to store energy as battery packs that are.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of
I think
companies
they're-
banking on lithium being around for a while.
Well, it's going to be on for a while because the technology that I've seen is they're using graphite because that's a great conductor of electricity
Okay.
in and out. Like when you charge and it goes out to power your car and to take charge back in, it takes less time. It holds a larger charge, so your range is 10 times longer instead of
It
200
charges
miles.
faster, and you can go farther.
Right, and they actually last longer. But the only problem is that it's hard to make right now. It's very expensive. But eventually, they're going to come up with the technology where that's going to
I
take
get what
over
you're saying,
lithium.
yeah.
And once that does take over, then lithium is just going to crash. But right now, it's on upstream. Right? That's why you're having these companies come in, even to America, with their strict EPA laws. You know, they've done the math. You know,
Oh, yeah.
They're
Their math is actually on the website. It's so easy to find the stuff. And I kind of take those numbers with a grain of salt, because this is what they're saying. These are projected numbers.
Right.
But I mean, even if it's half this, you're still talking, 1.6 billion, or I'm sorry, $160 million.
But this is like a perfect way to grow your economy.
Yeah.
I mean, lower your unemployment numbers.
Get all those coal miners that are going out of work.
Mhm.
They know the business, they have the equipment. You could transition them into lithium. You could do it smarter than they did with coal, because we're more socially conscious and economically friendly, or
Yeah, and
whatever.
at the same time, I mean,
It was only so environmentally friendly that you could mine stuff. I mean,
And
it's
that's
still
very
gonna have a
true.
large,
But
environmental impact.
let's be real. I mean, you're
I mean,
going to
but
need to
if-
mine stuff sometimes.
yeah. But if done properly, you can mitigate a lot of
Yeah, no,
those
I'm-
damages.
Exactly.
I agree with mining. I'm just saying there will be a cost to it.
Right, but at the same time, I wouldn't want the old coal mining owners. For them, I want a new
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
mine,
No old men, that's the deal.
Yeah.
You can't be above 50.
But wherever there's money, there's always going to be corruption. Doesn't matter.
Well, but if you had more regulation and oversight,
It goes back
and
to
better funded
enforcement,
agencies,
right.
yeah, more enforcement, IRS enforcement, EPA enforcement. That's what the government's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be
Yeah.
spending $1 trillion a year overseas on war. We're supposed to be spending that money at home, making sure everything's good here.
But again, I think putting something like that in the infrastructure, because it's not infrastructure, but
It's
it does
kinda
add
infrastructure.
to employment.
It's infrastructure in a few ways, because like you said, it would be jobs,
Right.
but it's literally building things in America. Building a 40-year mine, that's infrastructure, because that's that many jobs for 40 years.
Mhm.
And then it's something we're going to be using a ton of in the future.
Right.
That's building infrastructure, because here in America, we'll have the means and the ways to produce it.
And I mean, it's new now, but electric cars, it's just going to take
Well, that's
more and more companies.
That's what this is basically is. These are electric car batteries. That's
Right.
what's going to be. Half of it's going to be, or it's going to be phones. It's going to be electric cars.
There's a country, I forgot, it could be Norway, where they've gone. I just read the headline, but I could be wrong. But 100% electric vehicle ownership now is in one of these countries.
Well, here's the problem with that
Some of
too.
those countries are so small.
Right, but
Yeah.
they don't have
You know,
gasoline or petrol burning vehicles anymore.
But that you're no to cut there.
Cut there and there.
Yeah, we'll just get back into it. So, yeah. So, like you were saying, it is infrastructure. That is the definition of infrastructure, because electric cars. That's what the future is going to be. But when a country it goes 100% electric, I don't know. What if you have like an old diesel truck you like to take out, romping or
so
something?
that's going to be the big thing with when they go self-driving. Self-driving really only works really effectively if everybody has self-driving.
Well,
There's no way.
No. They can make self-driving cars that can drive around.
They can, but the
Self-drivers
safest
or whatever.
The safest
But-
way is for everybody to be.
Yeah, and you're not going to
self-driving.
catch me.
Yeah.
Like it's taking a taxi is one thing, but I love driving. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, that's what I mean. Like we're gonna have to make
Obviously, you haven't been
choices as
driven.
society where it's like
I've been like Uber and stuff,
Yeah, it's, I mean,
I've
not
taken
having
plenty
to
of trips.
worry about
and
driving, just sitting back.
But if you're going to Vegas, for example, you want to sit in the back seat, or you want to drive.
Yeah.
So I want to drive.
Well, I'm sure they'll have like places where you can drive, but it will be like you go to drive. like a racetrack.
A little bumper cars and
Simulator.
something. Yeah.
This is what it used to be.
Uh-huh.
You behind the wheel.
It's
so
just
dangerous.
Stuck,
Oh my
stuck in traffic. this is the traffic signal.
You know what's funny? That's what it's gonna be like. Maybe our kids or our kids' kids, where everything's gonna be self-driving, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll have either simulators or videos of.
They'll have a driver's lane, and then all the rest of it will be.
No, I'm saying where they. That's how Grandpa used to drive. They were, they were behind the wheel. Oh my God! All the car crashes that we always have. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time driving. I don't have many car crashes.
Because we look at things like in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe they used to do that.
Drive around without seatbelts.
Or throw the
What's
kids in
that
the back
wheel
of the
in the
truck.
front of the car? Like in the, what's that wheel for? Oh, that's.
Well, kids don't even know what a rotary phone is now.
Yeah, those are such funny videos. Watching kids like trying to figure it out.
Right.
Do you guys remember the old Corvairs, the deadly at any speed car?
Uh-huh.
Does that sound where the trunk's in the front, and so the steering column goes right to the front, and if you hit anything over 5 or 10 miles an hour in the front, the steering column just gets pushed through your chest.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was more than 5 or 10 miles.
No, it was like, that's why they call it deadly at any speed.
Uh-huh.
Because
Like
like
a Pinto where it can get rear-ended at 10 miles an hour and the gas tank can explode.
Right.
and then, because of things like that, they write these burdensome regulations where cars have to be safe from rear impacts. And then you have a company or a branch of the government that would go through and inspect companies to make sure that they're adhering to these rules. That's what the government's.
What did I say?
The question you just asked.
Yeah.
You asked if China attacks Taiwan,
Right.
will America step in? What I think was your question, right?
Right. Well, not just America, but Australia's tied in as well.
Well,
And
and
Japan.
Australia, Japan, everybody in the region's tied in. Australia is a big trading partner with China.
Was. Because now they're at it.
No,
And
well, yeah, like Australia does not trust China.
Didn't Australia just sign a contract with the United States with nuclear submarines?
Yeah, they're going to buy them
Nuclear
from
powered
France,
submarines.
and then
Nuclear
they
powered.
buy them.
France doesn't have nuclear power. That was the thing.
Yeah.
They're going to buy different stuff from France.
Yeah.
Coal powers.
But yeah, they definitely want to.
Diesel,
They
I think.
want to be a player in that region because they see what China, how aggressive they are to South China Sea.
I mean, aggressive as in
They
just
claim a lot of
want
it as
a lot,
theirs?
but have they actually fought in anything recently in the past 20 years?
No, but I mean that's the thing.
Military
When you talk about
bullets
these,
Flown in the water, flown over lanes they
world
shouldn't
wars.
I know, but they're
Floated
not
in
dropping
waters
bombs,
they
are they?
shouldn't.
No, well, that's
No.
the thing. Like, it goes from 0 to 100, like that. Like, because the first bomb, the first, American ship that gets hit by a Chinese missile, like then it's not like, all right, well, we're going to shoot one missile back at you. Like it goes from 0 to 100, and that's the problem is when you have a high risk thing like that. That was like the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's a boiler, and it's just getting hotter and hotter, and eventually it can explode if you don't like turn the heat down. You know what I mean? It just keeps getting hotter and hotter until there's a world war,
and
which nobody wants.
Well, you don't say nobody wants, because there's at least.
Well, the thing is, if China could, without starting a war, could take Taiwan and dominate the South China Sea.
How would they take Taiwan? By an invasion?
Yeah, no, not war with us. Is what
No.
Yeah, they would still go to war with Taiwan.
Right.
I mean, they calculate that the United States, kind of like Saddam Hussein, before, like in the Gulf War.
Kuwait.
Yeah, like he thought that America and the world would not come to Kuwait's rescue. He calculated that the United States would be like, well, we'll sanction you, we'll do this, but we won't actually go to war. And we
No, I
did.
mean,
But he didn't. If he really believed that we were going to go to war, he
that's not
wouldn't
why
have-
they attacked him. Saddam Hussein.
No, I'm saying the first Gulf War.
Regardless,
I'm
they
talking
were
about-
going to take him out. One excuse or another. He was going to convert
Yeah. But I'm
selling
saying that
his
he
petrol
wouldn't. Yeah.
from the U.S. dollar to the euro,
Well,
and that was going to affect our dollar. That's why they
would
took
not
him
have
out.
invaded Kuwait without if you
Well,
knew
that would be like
that's
a
one.
pretext.
That's just like
Yeah.
one more reason that we're saying that we took him out. But the main reason with Saddam Hussein was that he was changing the oil cell.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
dollar
I know what you're talking about.
to,
Yeah.
to the euro, and that's what happened to Gaddafi. He was going to change it from oil to the gold standard.
Well,
And-
let's not go down this rabbit hole because
And that's what happened to
another.
Venezuela with
Yeah.
Hugo Chavez. He went and he announced it at I think it was the UN, where he was going to sell his petrol from the dollar to the euro. In all three countries, you mess with the U.S. dollar, the value of it,
World police.
Well, I mean, anyway, going back to China.
Yeah, China and Taiwan.
Because I mean that's been going up. I mean it's been the news I just read was
Well, yeah.
from a day ago.
Hundreds of fighter jets they've been flying over Taiwan.
Right,
That's the
and
big thing now.
Taiwan is prepping its citizens for an invasion from China, is what it said.
Well, China, while they might not have a large force, army compared to ours, they got a lot of people and compared to
Well,
Taiwan.
their army is bigger than ours, but it's not as sophisticated as ours.
Well, then plus they don't have the Navy means to
You transport their army.
ride their
Yeah.
massive
Well,
army.
this was interesting. I watched a video because in that strait between Taiwan and China, there's only 2 months out of the year that they can actually use to invade Taiwan because the weather through that channel is so bad the rest of the year that ships just get capsized. Which I didn't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. But that period is coming up. I think it's like October to December.
Oh, is this the October surprise?
The holiday season.
No,
So-
'cause, have you heard that, right, with presidents? The
Oh,
October
yeah.
surprise.
Yep. But I don't think they'll invade this year.
This-
I think they're just gonna, saber rattle.
They
And,
should send all their elderly.
yeah. But the only reason they would ever
You know,
attack
'cause-
Taiwan,
Yeah, well, I mean, that solves
Yeah.
two problems.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, they
send their elderly with COVID.
one round.
But the reason they would is straight for control of the pass. That's what
well,
China needs access to that. See what? That part of the world?
yeah. Well, I mean, Taiwan is one of the biggest manufacturing centers in the world,
I
and it's
know.
where all the
You see, made in
sophisticated
Taiwan.
technology comes from. In China, 'cause technically Taiwan is part of China, but not.
Well,
No.
China might think that.
Well, yeah,
Taiwan
it's
sure
not.
doesn't feel that
That's
way.
what I mean. But like, so
Taiwan.
China has some sophisticated factories, but like Taiwan is all sophisticated manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
and so China, like they want.
So instead of
like,
developing their own sophisticated technology, they
Yeah.
just want to conquer that land.
Well,
It's
and
like rather
access to
than-
the sea, I'm sure.
well, I mean, then controlling that would give them better control over the South China Sea for sure. So, but like the only reason they would do that is if they believed the United States would not go to war over it. Like if China believes the United States will go to war over Taiwan, then they're not going to do it.
Well, and here's
Because they don't want a war.
this kind of touches on
Yes.
something you were talking about earlier. Is nobody wants war with China. Well, that's not necessarily true. There's people out there, there's companies out there that just want another war, and they don't care with what. And China's going to be the new red menace.
Well, I'm
you're already
saying-
hearing them say the new Cold War with China.
Well, I'm saying from the
They're
perspective
labeling
of
it between China and Australia as the World War III. It was on here.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
News.
well, the thing is, like, if Australia goes to war with,
If Australia goes to war, 30 million
So do
people
we.
fucking Australia, yeah, well, of course we're going to go to war with them. Because Australia is very strategically located.
yeah,
And you're not going to want China to have control of the Arctic seas or whatever, that whole area. You
Yeah.
want an ally.
I'm pretty sure Australia is a NATO country.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's definitely CETO. I don't think CETO is still exists. I think it's just NATO now. But like the thing with NATO, if one of the other sister countries is attacked, it's as if.
Well, that's,
all
I
of
mean,
it.
that's how it's supposed to be. But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Well, I mean,
The
we would
United
either have
Nations,
to,
so to speak.
but like Taiwan is not a NATO country, so the United States could be like, well, now if Japan is attacked, we automatically go to war.
In Japan, I mean, what's Japan going to do? Well, Japan's been trying to get a piece of China for years.
Yeah,
but
well,
realistically,
and
Japan
China
doesn't have
wants
the army.
revenge on Japan, and I mean, I don't really blame them for that necessarily, but
Japan's a pretty
Japan
sweet
now-
piece of real estate in that
Yeah.
area too.
But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bad blood between
Oh yeah,
China
thousands
and
of years, I'm sure.
Well, just recent. I mean, people forget how brutal the Japanese were in China. They were more brutal than the Nazis were by far in Europe.
Yeah, but again, you're getting way off subject because we could be talking about school education in America.
Well, I'm just saying that China wants, revenge on Japan.
Oh yeah,
as well.
I agree with that one.
But they also know that we are, treaty obligated to defend Japan if they're attacked.
What? Japan's like the third biggest world economy or something like that?
Well, we still are technically, responsible for their protection.
So they're not allowed to have an army yet?
Well, we've allowed them to build somewhat of an army, but yeah,
to protect themselves from China?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have an army for a long time.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Anytime we conquer,
Yeah.
you don't get an army. We'll take care of you, don't worry.
Well, sometimes, kind of.
Well, I mean, it depends if you're white, yeah. Then that's fine, we'll help out.
Yeah.
We'll rebuild.
But yeah, I mean, that
If you're
if
not,
China
well, we
did
already
attack
spent
Japan, it would
trillions of dollars there. Let's just leave.
I mean,
Let's
we
leave a bunch of garbage.
have to break our own treaties in order not to go to war over that.
Yeah, and again, some people want war with China. They want, if not a war with China, a Cold War, because they can use that as subtext to sell their guns, have a huge military, all those same
Well,
problems.
the biggest money maker for these companies is building the latest
Yeah,
technology
the newest stuff. You always look at
to
the
combat
get you.
the potential threat.
We
And
sold them
because
even
of
better
that,
stuff.
Well, but we've done. That's how America has worked. Especially the military-industrial complexes. They always say, if they're capable of doing this, then we have to create what can, be effective against that. Even though they have no proof that they
You ever
have the
seen the minutes
technologies.
stare at goats?
But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, well, there's
Well,
a funny
that's-
part in the minutes.
that's
where
why
they-
we
Killer
have-
robots.
where they talk about we got reports that the Soviets have been using psychics,
Mhm.
or that the Soviets
Because
think
we
were
had a
using
program like that
psychics
before.
to find
MK
their
Ultra.
submarines.
That was
Well,
such
this
a
was
difference, but
slightly different, but
Yeah,
the
the
joke
CIA
was like,
got into-
do we have that project?
No, no.
We're like, no, but
This
they
is
think
something
we do,
different.
So now
Yeah.
we have to start one.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie with George Clooney.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why we have the military technology that we have now is because we've been pushing that bar to
Yeah, you
combat
always
the.
want to be. Well, it's the peace through strength that your military is so much better that they
Well, and
will
it
never
is,
go to war.
especially what's the
Especially
US,
our military.
Well, the newest aircraft, the F-35 Raptor. Is that the
I
latest
think
one?
the F-30. Which one is the one that's terrible though? One of them.
Is it
that the
a manned aircraft?
F-22?
It is. They
Because
all still are.
They have
There's
drones that are more maneuverable and
Not
faster.
yet. Well, because you have to have that. Because you have to either radio control it or Wi-Fi or.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of.
So it's not as maneuverable as you think. Yeah, I mean it takes away the human body from all the G's, so that
Yeah,
it goes
so
through.
they
But
can-
then the connection to it to tell it how
Yes.
to maneuver is where it goes on. I mean,
you sure about that?
sensors they can only because you're going so quick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
pulling
know
this
what
out
the
of my
limitation.
ass.
I'm thinking more like like video games.
I'm just saying that plane is so sophisticated. I think they were saying the next country that could compete against it would take them like 20 years before they can even
Well,
Did
do
they
it.
have to
knows
create
about
the technology?
this on the Air Force. That's why they've been dumping tons of money into the.
Maybe.
No, not Navy, but it's a term for it. Not psychological warfare, but
Cyber warfare?
Cyber warfare. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
they've
a
been
lot
dumping
cheaper.
a ton of money into that.
You don't have to do anything.
So that they
We're
can
going to
disrupt
do it.
our drones, so they can disrupt our ships, so they can disrupt our without us, and we are woefully behind on cyber technology. We need to catch up. But that's because
That I
we're
don't know.
making planes.
I think if China invaded Taiwan, depending on who's president, especially, we would go to war like that.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
You think like
We're
troops on the or
No, troops
aiding?
on the ground. We're
Really?
tailor made for war against a country like China. because China doesn't have. It'd be like fighting Iraq,
Well, it'd be a
except
naval
with
battle
10 times
with
more people.
air superiority.
Because we're going to have everything superior to them, everything except for manpower. So their thing is just going to be waves of people. That's all they have.
Well,
That-
just like 300, if you don't have means to move that army, it's
Well, yeah,
useless.
exactly.
And that's
They are
what was
good.
interesting about that.
Their
that
spheres of
strait
influence like
between
this.
China.
Well, that's why they're
Taiwan,
going after
because we can
Taiwan.
protect that strait easily.
They share a border.
You know, our
So,
navy is far superior.
You look at who shares a border with China.
India.
And then, India, that's what I'm waiting for. A war between China and India.
Yeah.
Well, those two need
yeah.
to just tear at each other. We would back whoever wins until they...
That would already be a bigger problem if, like,
well,
a lot of
that side of the world.
because a lot of the major cities in China are on that coast. They're not like down by where India is.
Right.
Isn't there like a mountain range or something?
There is,
Right
yeah.
there?
There's a lot of
Andes or something?
Mhm.
yeah. There's a lot of
It's a big mountain. Like a pretty substantial mountain right there.
Otherwise, they probably already would be having a lot more attention than they do.
I think we
They do
would
have
for
some.
sure go to war. If Trump was in office, I campaigned on this. And then he'd have a general right there
Well,
saying, fucking
should we
drop
go
the
to war
nukes.
with China?
Should we go to war with
over
China?
time?
No.
No.
See,
I don't know
I
if we should
disagree.
go to war at all.
I disagree.
I think we should
Really?
kill other leaders. So, like, let's say, okay, China wants to go to war with Taiwan. Okay, bomb the president.
I think at this point in the
Why?
world,
Well, what does it matter?
The
You're
policy-
going to
That
send a
would make
million
it so
soldiers
much
to die?
worse.
Or are you going to take out their leader?
No.
If we would have dropped bombs on Saddam right at the beginning, would you say that whole war would have gone differently?
But Iraq and China are completely apples and oranges.
Exactly.
So
There's
you
an
can't-
actual head to it. Iraq is a nomadic society with hundreds, if not thousands, of individual leaders in small bands. China is one giant dragon. If you cut the head off of China, that body is going to
no, just
die.
another commie will take his place.
Well, you do some serious damage to the leadership of the party, it's done. There's the people.
Well-
There's a huge. It's kind of like here. You know how there's all these like high tech jobs, and there's this big gap between like skilled labor and then the jobs that need to be filled. Like there's all these skilled labor jobs in the construction field. Let's say.
Mhm. But okay, keep going.
Well, so I'm just saying, China's a lot like that. They have like a very well educated like ruling class
Mhm.
that is in charge of their communist party. Once you get past that, though, these are like dirt farmers. Like a majority of Chinese people were a
that's how they
generation
were,
ago
yeah.
agricultural.
But that's why they're all sending their kids over here to be educated.
Well, not all.
Well, not
Only
all,
rich
but,
people.
many
Rich people, yeah.
But there's a
Well,
lot
that's
of
what I'm saying,
Chinese.
like-
But that's,
But their middle class is growing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
upper middle
Oh, yeah.
class is growing.
I mean,
it's true.
There's tons of millionaires, tons of
But
billionaires.
it's also sliding scale. What's middle class in China? Is that send your kids to America to get educated? Middle class?
No, it would be upper middle class.
yeah.
I mean, even upper middle class. How many upper middle class people send their kids to Europe to get trained?
Did they have the foreign exchange students program? Don't we do that
a
a lot?
semester abroad or something like that?
Yeah. What's the policy in California? Every politician gets a Chinese spy, foreign student. I think that's their policy.
China's got
One
people.
guy does it.
Yeah, one guy did. Well, that's the thing. How many others? Like, we don't know. I mean, for that forethought, and I'm not even bashing on him. I mean, I could, but I
On
won't.
The guy who had
Stalwell, I think his name was, who was banging the Chinese spy. But the
He was
impressive
working
thing
for
is, like, when
information.
he started banging her,
Yeah.
he was a low level, like, just government, like state level position. He wasn't a congressman yet. He wasn't a senator. So they had her infiltrate him because he was known as like to be rising in
Yeah.
those circles. So like just the forethinking of like, oh, we're gonna subvert this guy now because he could become a congressman later.
I can see you agreeing with that kind of invasion from China.
Where's my Chinese spy?
Yeah.
Well, again, I think we would go to war
Yeah.
with China, and I think,
Okay.
like I said, we're tailor made for a war with China.
Yeah.
They can't send troops over here. all the war would be fought over
They
there
have
somewhere.
been beefing up their navy.
Yeah, but what good is that going to do?
The
Against
war
Navy,
will just be
against
each
our
country
Air
Well, what's
destroying the
funny,
shit
though-
of the other countries that's in their country. China will be like, if you bomb us, we'll fucking bomb this fucking Apple factory. Like, all right, you bomb our Apple factory,
okay,
we're gonna
wait.
bomb your lithium mine.
Yeah, whoa, okay.
All right.
I didn't think about this. Let's
Yeah.
calm down. Let's get some ground rules. No lithium mines, no smartphones.
Yeah.
These things, this is like the new Geneva Convention. No smart cars.
Like, all right, you can't attack the Apple factories. We won't attack your fucking.
You can keep your
Alright.
students here.
Yeah.
Apparently our politicians really like them.
Yeah.
But no, I don't want to see.
I don't want to see a war.
No.
I don't like
Nobody
war.
wants to see.
Yeah. I'm not one of those prepare for the worst or whatever, but I don't want
That's
I don't
not
want
how
war
the saying
to
goes. It's if you want peace, prepare for war. That's how the saying goes.
I thought it was prepare for the worst, expect the best or whatever.
No, that's
That's when you're going to your
No, it's-
gynecologist.
Sickness
Your
past the
what's it
cerebellum.
called?
yeah.
My proctologist.
There you go.
Jake, why do you have 6 proctology appointments?
I like the variety. Depends on how I'm feeling.
I really got to make sure there's no cancer.
I like a 4th or 5th opinion sometimes.
Yeah.
Every year for my physical.
Yeah.
Am I still healthy? Yeah, maybe go a little deeper. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
See how healthy I really am.
Oh, but yeah, a war with China would be great. China would be the kind of country that would have like inflatable tanks and stuff. So from drone pictures, oh look at they have this huge force, and then it's really just like paper mache. You got people like
that's the
carrying
thing.
them.
Well,
They're like
shoulder.
that now, and we
Well,
need to
that's what
keep
I'm
them
saying.
like that.
Yeah.
They take Taiwan, and that's a huge jump up in their
Terracotta army.
technological.
Yeah, basically, there you go.
Mhm.
You see the guys
Bunch
on the
of clay.
ramparts with a fucking spear, bow, and arrow,
Yeah.
and you get close, it's just a statue. It's like there ain't no real guy there. Except China's the exact opposite. They'll have a fake gun. You know, they'll have fake helmets. It'll look like a soldier, but it'll just be people with movie props.
Yeah. If I knew we were going to be talking about this, because I vaguely remember a article about China building their submarines and aircraft carriers, and they put them into the ocean, and they started getting major leaks and blowing apart.
Yeah, on time and under budget.
Yeah. Like a lot of them too. Like major problems.
Well,
They couldn't send them out to sea.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're going to hear, oh, here comes the Chinese fleet.
Yeah.
And then this over-the-horizon war that America
Well, that's-
loves so much.
Yeah,
They're going
that's
to be
the,
bombing shit even there in the middle of the ocean.
Paper tiger.
Then we're going to send our ships to go pick up the
Well,
soldiers.
but that's why you call their bluff. If you don't call their bluff, then they're not.
A recent country called their bluff. Was it the Philippines? Yeah, I think it was the Philippines. They sent out, it wasn't actually, no, it was a massive amount of fishing ships, and I think they were being escorted by the Chinese military.
I think
And the Philippines sent out a couple of just like warships,
Yeah.
and then they just
all the
scattered all the way
American
back.
warships, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they probably got 50-year-old battleships and shit
Yeah.
from the
And
Vietnam
then
War.
there was a statement from, is it Xi Jinping? Is that
Xi Jinping.
the president of, or
I'm not
emperor
sure.
of China?
Pooh Bear.
Yeah, he was. There's a statement of him praising the this country's leader for sending out.
You called our bluff. Good to you.
That was
buddy.
a test, and you passed.
Yeah, it was. It was just like that.
Oh, I'm sure, because they got a safe face in front of the party, and it's all about that. I mean, you heard kids can't play video games now. 2 hours a week,
Yeah,
9
Really?
p.m. on Fridays
I
is when they can start.
Are you gonna tell me that population growing up is gonna
That's the
produce
problem.
a solid soldier?
Well, that's the problem, because you have this,
Well,
all
we
these
just need to,
old...
like when KFC got put over there, like they started having a huge child obesity problem. Not just KFC, but American. Like,
No,
fast
KFC
food.
will do that.
Oh yeah,
It's
it
that
will.
bucket.
Well, they're like because they.
Only Americans get
the
that.
chicken
It's the
strip.
same problem with like a lot of Native Americans. Their bodies don't process those saturated fats well.
Trans.
And so, like, like they
Yeah.
starting to have a huge child obesity problem over in China because all the fast food.
That quick, huh?
exporting.
They call them
That's all-
meatballs.
I mean, Because yeah, when you're not used to eating that kind of food,
Maybe that's what we need to do. Instead of sending an army, we send all of our
We're already doing that.
yeah,
McDonald's, KFC.
Well, I mean,
Taco
those
Bell.
companies are probably all owned by Chinese companies by now anyway. So what does it matter? Those are just we buy McDonald's from China to it's like okay, sell it here in America.
Well, that like a lot of their stuff is knockoff over there. Somebody's showing a video and it's like KFC, but it's not.
You go inside and it's just
It's like
It's like
you
a
see how
sushi
many
joint.
like fake Apple stores are in Wuhan. It's
But
like 40
there's-
fake Apple stores.
Yeah, but it is so hard to distinguish the
Yeah.
real Apple store from the fake Apple
That's
store.
what I mean. Yeah.
They're probably more helpful because they don't work for Apple,
Yeah.
so they know all the tricks and tips and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you here, do this to get around your stupid Apple security.
Uh-huh. The people waiting till the last minute to merge onto traffic.
All right, so this one will do like another PSA,
Yeah.
like we did with our oh so popular slow traffic keep right PSA, we'll call it.
Sure.
This is waiting your turn. So let's say you're, I'll bring up your example, Ulysses. It was a very good one.
So here in Phoenix, we have a freeway, the 51.
State Route 51.
No, it's not a. Is it State Route?
Yeah, that's why it's called the SR 51. But
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
State Route 51.
Okay.
It merges with the 202 Red Mountain Freeway, and it goes down to one lane, and it usually starts getting crowded around 3 o'clock, rush
Yeah,
hour.
beginning of rush hour, about a
Right.
mile before the exit.
More than a mile,
Yeah.
it's like 2 or 3 miles.
Sometimes 2 or 3 miles before
Right.
the exit,
And-
traffic will start to back up because it's one lane
Right.
to get off of the 51 onto the 202.
Correct. And a ton of people will blow past the line and then will try to squeeze in into
right,
it.
right at the last minute.
Right.
Everybody knows why the line's so long, why
right.
that lane of traffic isn't moving,
Exactly.
why people aren't just getting out and going into traffic that is moving. It's because everybody's waiting their turn to get off the freeway.
To get off
To
of
get
the
off of the 51 to merge onto the 202.
Right.
So they're trying to get off the freeway onto another. They're trying to make a maneuver, and they're waiting their turn to get on.
Well, at the same time, because they're looking for that slow driver so that they can cut in, now they start slowing up that lane where they're at
Yeah.
as they're trying to.
So that brings up a good
so
point too.
backs up even more traffic.
So I always felt, in a way that I kind of try to drive most of the time, is where my driving doesn't affect other drivers. So if I'm going to make a turn, I'm going to try to make it in such a way that hopefully people won't have to stop behind me. Or if I'm going to merge into traffic, if I'm going to change lanes, somebody's not going to have to brake so I can get in. You know, like I try to make my driving as less impactful on other drivers as much as I can, to a reasonable degree, let's say. But when you're trying to cut a big line and you're holding up a second line of traffic because, oh, here comes the exit, I only have 200 feet to get off, nobody's letting me in because everybody saw me just cut the line.
Well, and what really turns that knife is what really grinds my is when they fucking cut you off, a mile ahead of you,
Yeah.
and then they start driving really slow. You're like, weren't you in a hurry? Isn't that why you cut the whole fucking line off? And now you got like 5 car length in front of you until the next car.
Letting people in. It's like, oh, you, oh.
Wait till I catch up.
Right.
Keep you dirty
Yeah.
Wait till I yell instructional advice out the window as I drive by.
But yeah, that's the top, the cherries where they cut
Yeah.
in, and then, because they got in, I got in.
Oh, I got what I wanted. I'm in.
I'm at the front,
Yeah,
now
yeah,
I'm
I
going
got
to
what I
cruise
wanted.
onto the 202.
Nice leisurely turn.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, just wait your turn. I don't get it. You honestly think you're better than every person you just passed? You know some secret they don't? Oh, look at these idiots waiting in line. I'm just going to cut right at the end. It's like, oh my
Chumps.
God. There are certain people that just feel like, I feel like can't live in civilized society.
Yeah.
These are the people. You drive slow in the fast lane. You don't wait your turn. in traffic, you should be
Would
pulled
you
out of
say
your car.
you think they feel entitled?
It would have to be entitlement. You don't cut line unless you're
So
entitled.
bring it full circle.
Yeah, those drivers are the spoiled kids that never got spanked. I'm just kidding.
You think so?
They developed that self entitlement, because they got put on a pedestal.
Where do you say that self-entitlement comes in? You think that's our generation? Do you think your generation's an entitled generation? You think it's our kids? Is that the
Being a
generation?
millennial, I think it's
Well, I think you might be a little old to be a millennial. You're probably more like a Gen Xer or something like that.
No, I'm millennial.
No, I'm pretty sure you're
81.
too old for that. Oh.
That's where.
Oh, is that the cutoff? Is that you want the
No,
cutoff?
80. So
Oh, okay.
80. So I'm at the butt end of it. Is that where
Yeah.
it goes, or
Okay.
the very front of it?
So no, you'd be the very front. So millennials start in
at 80, 1980 up to
2020
2000.
years. Yeah, 2000.
Yeah, that's
So those are millennials.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying it's not that generation that's the entitled generation.
No.
It's their kids. Is
Yeah.
where the
I
entitled.
mean, I'm going to be 40 years old.
Mhm.
I have kids,
Yes.
and you're going to tell me that there are no 20-year-olds in between me and my kids. It's those we have 20-year-olds, teens, 30-year-olds right now. Those are the ones that are.
Okay.
I feel like
So that would be like our parents raised a bunch. It'd be that generation
No, it would-
before us, not our kids. It'd be
Yeah, kind
It'd
of.
be the ones right before us.
Well, it could be
Really
our
the kids
generation that got
born around
pregnant really early.
2000.
All the kids,
Probably
so-
the worst.
Because, I mean, honestly, next time pay attention to who cut you off or who's getting in the front. It's the younger crowd. It's not, it's not a 50-year-old or a
Well,
60-year-old.
usually, honestly, when I feel like it gets done, is it's somebody like my age.
A
That's
40-year-old.
yeah. Honestly, that's how I feel it a lot. Like a lot of the people that I feel drive kind of iffy.
Yeah.
Not to be sexist, because I think women aren't. There's nothing inherently wrong with the way they drive. They're not worse drivers
It's
than
not
us.
people like us.
But a lot of the things like slow in the fast lane,
Yeah.
and what I would consider more like absent-minded driving, where they're not considering how it affects the people around them, changing lanes without looking properly, or things like that. But when it's somebody doing like a jerk move, like trying to cut in at the end or something like that,
Mhm.
it really seems like men around my age, middle-aged men, younger men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would grant you that.
Younger, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like younger guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that for sure.
Well,
I think guys are more aggressive driving.
Mhm.
To me, women, they're more like distracted driving.
Yeah, I mean, and even to that, because it's like my wife, she's been in like one accident, and it was her fault. But, I mean, that's like one accident.
Mhm.
Like, literally, that's it. I would never, when I say absent-minded or like distracted driving, I don't mean they're like, they're playing on their phone. I mean, it's just, I think they get more like wrapped up in it, and it's more like about
You
what
see
they're
that
doing.
clip
and
of the
everybody
cop
around
pulled
them.
over his chick, and he was like next to her and looking.
right,
She's
into
like-
her. Yeah.
And she pulls over, and she starts fucking flipping out on him.
What was she doing? Because I think the monitor cut your hand gesture off.
No.
Playing with her phone.
Yeah,
That's
playing
what
with
he's
her.
doing. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Not-
I can't see what he's doing.
Not flicking her bean, but.
It's both distracted driving. Both distracted driving.
They're both distracted driving.
I mean, I won't say that I've never driven out.
Didn't
but
Arizona pass a no phone while driving law? Like,
Yeah, there's actually a bunch of them, and I
like,
don't
we're
like
supposed to be wearing a Bluetooth. Like we can't even answer the phone.
hands-free device.
Hands-free device.
Hands-free, unless you're doing maps. G maps is okay. The navigation portion.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
allowed
They
to
can
hold your
actually
phone.
look. Like if you were in an accident and they think it was
Oh yeah.
caused by your
Don't
phone,
ever
they
let the
can
cop
look.
touch your phone. You know how a lot of people have their insurance on their phone and stuff? If you give the cop your phone, he could just, I'm sure there's 911 setting, and he could be like, break down what this phone was doing. And it'll say 915, text, 916,
Well,
text,
they can
open
subpoena
phone,
that
look the
information.
text. They could. I bet they could just do it right
they
there.
can, but you can't give up your passcode.
Yeah.
Like if you have a 4-digit passcode, you can't because that's against your the
No, like
Fourth
if it's
Amendment or
if it's
Fourth
a
Amendment,
warrant,
no, your constitutional right
Oh.
of self incriminating.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing that they tell you is if you're getting pulled over and you don't want the authorities to get a hold of your phone is to turn it off.
Yeah.
Especially with an iPhone, is if you turn it off, the power, not just turn off the screen, but completely turn
I know
off
what
your
you mean.
phone.
Yeah.
To unlock it, you have to put in a code instead of you can't use your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and they can't force you to put in your code. Again, that goes against
No,
your.
I think they can only do it if they have a warrant.
Even with the warrant, that was the whole debate with the terrorist attacks that had
Well, no, 'cause they
Apple
didn't-
Apple
They,
iPhones.
they were
They
dead,
couldn't-
and the government wanted to get into the phone, and Apple was like,
You can't
no.
self-incriminate your. That's part
No,
of your
no,
constitutional
but
those
rights.
people
no,
were
you
dead.
have a
Right.
right to not incriminate yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you can give up that right.
No. What you say is, I forgot my code. Now,
Yeah.
what are they going to do? Torture you?
Well, I mean,
no.
they can hold you in contempt. But
Well, whatever. Like it's not the
Yeah.
same though. It
Yeah.
just saves you from whatever you're.
Just like
or you can
can't-
just say lawyer. I've done this plenty. of
like
times.
if you have a recording device in your car,
Mhm.
and if you delete that video, you can be charged for.
Well, yeah, but again, if you have face
Yeah.
unlocking system, they could just grab your
Well,
phone
that's the thing.
and do that.
Yeah,
That's
I don't-
legal.
I don't have that. I have fingerprint and a code on
Mhm.
mine.
Well, they can still grab your finger.
It's true.
They said the best thing is the code because you can't give it
Yeah,
up and
yeah,
they
you don't
can't
have
force
to.
you to give it.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, but it was my understanding they could only do it with a warrant.
Well, even if you do have a warrant, you're not going to give up your code.
Yeah.
You're going to say, I forgot.
Well, you may or may
play
not,
stupid.
depending on, like
All of a sudden
if
you have
wanna get,
dementia.
because they
All of a
can't
sudden, I
charge
don't
you
want to
with
agree
like
on this. I plead the fifth.
obstruction. Because there are certain things like that. Yeah, you could be charged with obstruction.
You
like-
could, I mean, but which one's the lesser crime?
Well, it depends on what
Well,
you're
exactly,
doing.
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Distracted driving probably isn't much.
But yeah, the
but
Apple
this
one was like the FBI was trying to force Apple to get into the phone, and
Yeah.
Apple's like, no.
They
But
wanted
those
to
people
create
were
a
dead.
back channel entry, and Apple kept saying no.
Yeah.
No.
But you bring up a really good point with this distracted driving law, with this
I
no
only
texting law.
brought it up because a couple of days ago I was driving down 44th Street.
Okay.
Brand new 2021 BMW 7 Series. Light turns green, and he's just sitting there for a couple seconds, and I honked, and then he just took off really fast. Got to the next red light. He stopped maybe 2 car lengths before the actual stop, and
That's what you always tell.
I went around him because I was going to deal with that, and I looked over, and he's on his phone.
Yeah.
He's in a business suit and everything. I'm sure he was sending out a business email or whatever. Again, but that was part of the, I thought,
Well,
distracted driving.
here's-
It is. Well, like texting and driving causes more deaths now than DUIs.
Here's the
Texting
thing
and
about
driving is the most dangerous thing.
here's the thing about your texting and driving.
What
laws.
about drunk texting and driving?
Yeah,
They already have.
that balances each other out. Then you're just like,
No, they already have a bunch of laws about distracted driving.
you
Yeah.
do both.
You're already not
They're not
allowed
being enforced
to
though.
play on your phone. You're
Right.
already
well,
not
they're a
allowed
lot
to text.
harder to enforce.
You're already not allowed to do all those things. These
But I
are
mean,
just
that was, like, super
unnecessary
obvious.
laws
Yeah.
that are just so you can what? So you can they're feel good, do nothing laws. They already have these laws. Were already
Look,
in place.
Well, most laws are feel good, do nothing laws.
My other thing was, so after I got around him, and we were at the stoplight, turned green, I took off and looked in my rearview mirror, and he's there, not moving, and nobody's honking at him. For
He's got a pretty nice car. I don't want to
Yeah,
laugh.
like I'm sure he's busy. I'm sure he's just sitting there
Yeah,
walking
he's
down.
probably making those bells, making that belt. So
I just thought that was.
They did do a study that BMW owners are the most asshole drivers.
it's funny. My brother used to drive one.
Yeah, he's an
So,
asshole.
oh, for sure. But he was talking about how hard they are to maintain because they
Yeah.
take
Oh, yeah,
a lot of work
Mhm.
to maintain.
Yeah.
He said if you maintain it well, it runs great.
Yeah.
But you let it slip, it all of a
The
sudden.
maintenance schedule is like every 6 months you have to take it in.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So he said what a lot of them do is they'll only drive it and they'll lease it for 2 years, and then that's when all the problems start to show up, and then they'll go trade it in.
Yeah.
I just thought that was
And
funny.
then Freddie goes in and buys it.
He bought an old one.
Oh, he used to.
Yeah,
And
it
then
was
they
probably
get all the problems.
Does
with
Yeah,
he
it.
exactly.
still have the?
The electric i3 BMW. Yeah, those are nice because it's a hybrid.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
still
all
understand.
electric. It runs electric first
Yeah,
until it
that's how
gets a
it's more
certain
hybrid.
range.
It's 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
No. it uses the battery first.
Okay.
And I mean, you get on the freeway, whatever, it goes quick. But this one, it's not, because you're thinking of Toyota Prius.
Yeah.
That
exactly.
one, the battery only kicks in if you're going under 20 miles an hour, and then if you go anything faster, then the gas engine kicks in, to compensate. But the BMW doesn't do that. It goes all battery first, and then once you get to a certain range of your battery, then your gas engine kicks in.
When they were building like that, is like
The
before
thing is,
the infrastructure.
he hasn't
was
pumped.
a lot better.
He hasn't put any gas in it since he got the car. So, but I'm thinking you're.
Well, that might be a little
Yeah.
hyperbole.
No,
He's probably put a little bit.
where he lives.
Yeah, because it's an electric car. It just has a gas
backup.
backup. 'Cause they were building that
Right.
way in case
But,
you're
I
doing
mean-
like trips where
Because gas evaporates, right? So shouldn't. I mean,
when it goes bad.
It's a
I don't
steel
know.
would it go bad?
It does go bad, but it doesn't last long. A few months maybe. You have to actually add stuff
I
to
think
gas to
it's
keep it
in
warm.
the tank. Yeah.
Because I was thinking about
But
it.
the tanks are airtight. The
Yeah.
whole system is under a vacuum.
Right.
So.
Oh, because they
So I
should
think
be
it-
fine then. Yeah.
Well, but
Because
again, I think
he
the gas
hasn't gassed up. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because his apartment complex has
a
bunch of charging
Oh, I'm
stations.
sure he lives in a nice spot.
Yeah, so it's constantly it's always charged.
Yeah.
Always. And it's quick. That's what I like
Well,
about
they say those motors are like high torque motors or
Well,
something.
like Tony, my neighbor,
So you
had
get a lot of
that fucking
yeah.
acceleration on it.
But they nerfed that thing.
No, yeah, for some reason his is quick.
No, I know, like
he
the-
pulls up to
The Volt, like literally, they
oh, the
they
Volt
nerfed
from
it.
Chevy.
Yeah, they
'Cause it's
nerfed
Chevy.
it to make it feel like regular acceleration.
No,
But
Because
yeah,
it's actually way better, but we nerfed it so it.
Yeah,
no,
that's exactly
no,
what they
lie.
did.
They don't
they were
fucking-
like, we don't want people fucking.
we don't want people driving quick, so.
because they have the Volt,
Mhm.
which is a hybrid, then they
Okay.
have the Bolt, which is fully electric. No hybrid.
Which one's the Leaf?
Leaf
The
is
Leaf is
Nissan,
Nissan, yeah.
and that
That
one's
one's
fully
like-
electric.
Yeah, but that one's almost like a golf cart. I mean, that's not even like a real car. Like the Volt is a real car. The Leaf is like borderline.
It still doesn't. It's not. It doesn't have great range on the
No,
battery.
they designed it to be like a strictly just around the city car.
I just find it funny to call it, Volt, and then I see them gassing up at Costco.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But going back to your PSA,
PSA, is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to add? Fucking wait your turn. Slow traffic, keep right.
Yeah.
Don't cut the line. You ain't better than nobody else. I mean, let's be real. This is where you got a problem with it. Comment. I'll respond back.
uh-oh,
Yeah.
oh,
I'll
you
fucking-
open up those channels.
Yeah, right? You want to play this game? I'll fucking trace your IP address. I'll show up at your goddamn house.
Easy there, Hitler. All right.
Anything else? You ever?